to make sure that they were okay, because I had gotten word that nobody from Belpre had contacted the EOC in Washington County, and I found out that they were hurting for ice and for their cooling station. So before we could do anything, the state had already gotten involved, and they got them some. So we were going to get some from up here because there was plenty of ice down at Walmart and the grocery stores around here. Yeah. So what about oxygen? You know, one of the things that they've had a problem with in Belpre and parts of Washington County, because I don't know the extent of the damage, but a lot of the cell phone towers were not functioning, so you had no cell phone signal, you had no landline signal. So the medical providers of the oxygen could not contact their patients. The patients had no communication, so they couldn't contact their medical provider, and neither of them could contact the EOC to say, hey, I'm about to run out of oxygen, can somebody help me? So we got that process worked out yesterday with the state as well. So how are you guys sitting with that? You know of any problems with people that need oxygen that can't get it?
You know, some people have their own oxygen, well, it's an enrichment type of thing, and they live literally on that. If there's no power, then of course they're out.
But we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know if they don't have communication. You know,
right.
Chief, I guess I would offer it to the Guernsey County EMA folks. If we know where some of those folks live, hopefully somebody's going over and knocking on their door and checking on them and making sure that they're okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the same way. Those older people that are fragile and maybe a little alone, and there's certainly a number of those around.
Yeah.
They ought to be checked on.
Absolutely, because their food in their refrigerator is going to spoil, and if they don't have a way to get out and get food, that's going to be an issue for them. So there are a number of people, and only you folks here locally will know where those are. And you're probably doing these things already, so I'm not telling you anything that you aren't already doing, most likely. When I was in the Air Force as the commander of a communications unit down in Florida, I had the largest Air Force communications unit in the world. We had a 750 square mile facility. It was like a small city with 3 airfields, a commercial airport, the big radar system that monitored the hurricanes as they came up through the Gulf Coast. So part of my job was to ride out the weather, the bad weather, and be there to help reconstitute the base and the community once the bad weather passed. So I've got some experience with this, so if I sound like I'm giving out instructions, it comes naturally from my military days. I don't mean to. You're probably doing some of these things.
Has AEP, do you have any idea how, when they get
yes,
back in?
there are various timelines depending on the areas. The damage and the comment to the AEP that the AEP guy made to me just a little while ago. He said, Congressman, this has been devastating to us. He said, we've got miles and miles of distribution lines that have been totally destroyed. Washington County Electric Co-op, for example, had 10 miles of lines on telephone poles that were completely destroyed. And AEP is their distribution carrier. So it's going to take some time. Just to kind of give you an example, the latest date that I have heard for one community only, Wellston, which is way down south, that's not up here, but Wellston, they're talking as late as the 10th of July before they'll be getting people back up online on power. Everybody else, there's not a single one that is later than through the weekend, this weekend. But that's still a long time. That is still a long time to go without power, especially in this kind of heat. That's why we've got to be vigilant and talk to our neighbors. And you know, they're now down to coming on, you know, one substation at a time because of the amount of destruction that took place.
Do you know if they called in additional crews?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as of yesterday, there were additional crews from Florida, North Carolina, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas. I was on the phone with them when he said, hey, we just had another group of 93 arrive. We got to give them their safety briefing and tell them which sector of the state they're going to be assigned to. And so yes, they have. The figure that I got was 1,800 workers and 300 support folks, and that was before they brought in all of the crews from the outside. So, I mean, I'd be willing to say you're talking somewhere in the vicinity of 2,000 to 2,500 electrical crew team members that are working around the state.
This may be more the private sector, but there's a lot of people that would use a generator, could try to get one, and of course you can't find any, they're out. Just wondering if there's any way to communicate with other counties or even other states. To
Absolutely.
for sale.
Absolutely. I would encourage your, who runs your EMA? Who's your EMA director?
Jerry Beckner.
Yeah, that's right. I tried to reach Jerry yesterday or Sunday when I was at the EOC, and I couldn't get up with her. I would encourage Jerry to reach out to other EMAs within the local area that they could get some from. It's my understanding as power comes back on, generators are going to be freed up, and they'll be able to redistribute some of those. So I would call the Washington County EOC, call some of the EOCs up north that activated even though they weren't hit quite as hard. Jefferson County, Belmont County, that's what I would do. So if we could get that message to Jerry, that'd be a good
Can
point.
we even
Not
communicate
to
to,
interrupt, but I saw yesterday Abel's Electric, they have generators for sale.
who did?
Abel's Electric.
Oh, okay.
They had a whole bunch of them.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, even the private sector, where you just
They
contact
have a big
other
sign out
Home
front.
Depots to bring them in for sale
And
here.
generators here.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Boy, you sure couldn't find one Sunday morning in Marietta, that's for sure. And I know that for a fact because I could hear them all running, and none of them were mine. We lost everything in our refrigerator too.
As you travel around the state here, is Cambridge the worst or as worse?
You guys, in terms of structural damage, you guys are the worst that I have seen. The church downtown looks like a bomb went off in it. I mean, it looked like a picture out of Afghanistan or something. Those poor folks over at the Napa Auto Store and Buckeye Tire, their whole roofs have been torn off, and we're getting these storms coming through here every day, and you can't put a tarp big enough over those buildings. The winds are so strong as they come through here that the water is getting right back in their facilities. So structural damage, yes. Trees down. I haven't seen as many trees down in Guernsey County as I have seen in other places. Maybe that's because there's not as many trees up, where I'm traveling. But I know down in Washington County there were a number of homes damaged because of trees falling into the homes and on top of cars. The loss of life to lose anybody is terrible. But considering the severity of this storm, the loss of life and physical injuries have been very, very minimal. We lost a lady in Muskingum County. Farmer and his wife tried to take refuge in the barn. The barn collapsed, and the wife was killed. And I understand that a gentleman, I read this just this morning, a gentleman was killed when he was riding his four-wheeler in the dark on a road, and a tree had fallen across the road and he didn't see it. And so he hit that at a pretty high rate of speed, I guess, and it killed him. So, but that wasn't directly related to the storm. That was an after effect, after accident.